What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? This is your boy, Coach Green, talking green with Green on a Saturday morning. And I'm so excited to be in front of you guys. Hope you all are having an amazing day, or your day is about to get off to an amazing start. Depends on where you are. I think the weather's supposed to be a little crazy. So I don't know if you guys are going to be out and about. But I just had to come on here live today and just share some thoughts, man. I was doing my morning devotion, and this is about what are you worried about, right? What are you worried about? It used to be something we used to say when we were younger, kind of talking to people a little, kind of off the cusp, so to speak. And you would say, "What you worried about?" You know. And as you get older, you start realizing there's so many things that could weigh you down. And I'm just here to tell you or say to you, out loud, what are you worried about? You have nothing to be worried about. And that really comes from my devotion today that I wanted to share. I think a lot of times, we need to understand that church is not a place, right? Church is actually it's really a spirit, and I don't mean that we shouldn't go to church. That just means that sometimes you can minister to people based on things that you're going through, right? The Bible has a lot of different examples, things that have happened to different people, and they're telling stories from a certain perspective, and they're telling things that happen. And really, that's the same thing that we're doing now. We keep having experiences that now we can share with other people. So it's almost like we're creating our modern day Bible, right? Because one, we're living by certain kind of principles. I'm so sorry. We're living by certain type of principles, and two, when you live by those principles, and God does speaks to you, when Jesus operates a certain way in your life, when the Holy Spirit tells you certain things, it's important, it's imperative that you share that information with others. So it's almost like we are continuing to write our own Bible each and every day. And so my scripture today actually came from Philippians 4, and I'm not going to give you guys a deep thing, a deep sermon today, but I wanted to say, I want to share. It came from Philippians 4:4, and it said, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, it will guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus." And I was thinking about it. I said, man, there's so many things that people worry about. But the Bible tells us if you're going to worry, then why pray? And if you're going to pray, why worry? So my premise is, or the premise that everybody, in my opinion, should have, if you're a believer, is that I should always be joyful because I know that God is in me. And so if God is in me, then that's my reason to rejoice. And I don't have to worry. But to me, a lot of times people worry because what they put in their mind, right? What you put in your mind first, it impacts everything else. And I think nowadays we have access to so much information. We have access to so many different ways of thought. You start taking that stuff in, and then we start kind of living that particular way. And we shouldn't, right? We should always be, in my opinion, be led by what you believe in. Let me say that. You need to be led by what you believe in, but you better be careful about what you believe in. And so my premise is the Bible. My premise is that, God is my creator. God created me for a purpose. God created you for a purpose. So if God is your creator and God created you for a purpose, then you should be trying to find out what is your God-given purpose. And by finding out what your God-given purpose is, that's literally how you start. That's literally how you should start acting, right? If you people who are in fraternities and sororities, they typically act the way of the stereotype of that particular organization. Not going to say any names. I'm just saying it's typically just kind of how it happens, right? I've been worked on a campus for a lot of years. I've seen people who came to the meeting one way, and I'm saying like after they finished the process, it's like they had to act a certain way, right? Depending on what the organization's aura was, that thing kind of came out in them. Well, that should be the same way you are in your Christian fraternity to me. If you believe a certain way, if you have a certain type of father, God, if he tells you a certain type of way that you should act, that should be the aura that you carry along no matter who you're talking to. So my whole point is you got to be careful what you put in your mind. And so I try daily to put things in my mind that are going to have me focus in a certain kind of way so that I can be the most productive person that I can be, the most productive Christian that I can be. I want to get to the point where when people see me, they say, man, I see God in Marvin, right? I don't want people to see um, just a Rattler, FAMU Rattler in Marvin. I don't want people to see this fraternity guy Marvin or whatever the case may be. I want people to see the God in Marvin. And anything that I've done to fall short of that in the past, I've asked God for forgiveness. I want to do better each and every day, but it's all about what are your thoughts. And so I'm just saying to people today that be careful what you're putting in your mind. These TV shows, the social media, and the things that we ingest, it really comes out. Whatever you put in is always eventually going to come out. Whatever you put in is always eventually going to come out. That's mentally, that's spiritually, that's physically, things you put in your body, that's what's going to come out. So people are sick and then people have diseases because you're putting things in your body that create disease. It's really as simple as that. People all the time, you see somebody losing weight and they doing this and doing that. You say, what you doing? What you doing? Like there's a magic formula. What a magic formula is, calories down, calorie burn up, calories intake down to lost weight. But the other part of that is, are you putting things in your body that allows your body to function at the optimal space that it should be functioning, right? So not gonna go on that tangent today, but it's a serious thing. My man, Coach O'Neill, he's preaching it all the time about a plant-based lifestyle. And people say, I can't give up my meat. I can't give up my meat. But if you just look up what meat is doing to your body, the inflammation, dairy products, the mucus that's in your body, those things are doing what they're supposed to do. Meat adds inflammation, dairy adds mucus, all these things. And guess what? People, the cancer that eventually happens and that type of stuff. Not like I said, not going deep. Those things are a byproduct of what people put in their body. So when you put certain things in your body, that's what you're going to get out. So that's what I'm saying. Even what you put in your mind, that's ultimately what you're going to get out. And so I just wanted to start with that because the premise of it is, what are you worried about, right? What is your mind consuming on a daily basis? So I try to read a lot, get away from the TV, the talking heads on TV. I noticed that they're no good for me. I won't speak for me. And I'm just talking about sports. I watch a lot of sports, obviously. Being in the recreational and athletic space for 20 plus years, it's kind of hard not to, right? But I realized that nowadays they're just people that are just talking, who their job is to tell you how you're not doing your job. Their job is to tell athletes how they're not doing their job. That's it. And I'm like, wait a minute. These guys are not even writing articles anymore. It's not even what happened yesterday. So and so did this. In the third inning, this happened. In the fourth quarter, this happened. Blah blah blah. In the in the third, whatever, like whatever the defensive lineman was, they literally are talking about people's future. I'm listening to the people talk about the draft yesterday. Oh, he's not going to be good. Oh, he is going to be good. And I'm not talking to people who are just looking at the statistics of like how fast somebody ran or how high he jumped or whatever. I'm talking about people who are looking at somebody's track record from college or whatever, and now they're saying what that person's value should be. Oh, they shouldn't get him in the first round because he's not this, he's not that. And what I'm telling you is that happens every single day in your life. I'm starting to see it now. I'm like, wait a minute. This is the draft. So we used to people talking like this in the draft, and we think it's just commonplace. But guess what? Somebody's doing that at your job. Somebody's saying what your value is worth at your place of employment. You have to start understanding that the more you start thinking that you're only worth a certain amount, a dollar amount, if it's whatever it is, 40,000, 50,000, 100,000, nobody should put a value on you. But the reason that you start thinking your way and start limiting that and start capping it in your mind is because based on what you do, put in your mind. So, like I said, we're all telling a story each and every day. You want to be careful what story you're telling yourself. What are you saying about you? What are you saying about you? And of course, the Bible is something I read every single day. There's a book here people might have heard of, Think and Grow Rich. My lights are always so there you go. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And the power of Think and Grow Rich, a lot of times people think that you just think, and you grow rich. No, Think and Grow Rich is about a mindset of how you create thoughts, right? How thoughts create ideas and how ideas eventually create um, commerce, ultimately commerce that eventually can pay you. That's what Think and Grow Rich is about. It's really like, as a man thinketh, so is he. It's like, what do you focus on? The thing that you focus on, the thing that Napoleon Hill saw when he started talking to all these 500 some people who had become multimillionaires and billionaires, he realized that they thought different. So it's again a biblical principle. This is like another version, not of the Bible, but I'm just saying it's another version of what you put in your mind eventually comes out. And so when you start thinking of something, what you think about, how long you think about it, what you say to yourself, I am, whatever you put behind I am, it eventually has to manifest itself, because once you start believing it, you start walking towards that thing. So a lot of times I hated when people used to say when I was growing up, man, how's it going? Man, I'm just trying to survive, trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. Well, guess what? You keep saying that, you're going to always be trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. Don't put that in your subconscious, because your subconscious, it doesn't know whether you're joking or not. Your subconscious takes that on, and your subconscious says, okay, he want to try to make $1 out of 15 cents. Or somebody says, man, it's hard, man. I'm just working for the man. But guess what? You're going to always be working for the man. Your subconscious doesn't hear that you want to be independent. Your subconscious doesn't hear that you want to do something different. Your subconscious doesn't hear that you're trying to break the generational curse that could be on you or your family. Are you trying to create generational wealth? And if you are, what are you trying to learn so that you can do that? Right? So a lot of times we're just taught to be hard workers. And if I work this hard, I'll get this result. But what I'm asking you is, tell me who has just worked hard. I'm talking about a person who's been an employee that that has done that. If you know the person, follow exactly what they do and you'll get it. That's the beauty of this thing. If you follow exactly the person that you're trying to emulate, you'll typically get what they have. So a lot of times we look at people and we start not admiring, but we start saying, "Oh my God, that person is just so different." Now, athletic talent wise, it could be different, right? There's certain things we're born with, certain things you do, the time you put into it every single day. I mean, I know a young kid right now that's killing it right now, but you know what? His dad has put a mindset in him, and every single day he's getting his 10,000. It's almost like, you say you got to get 10,000 reps to be good at something. I think this kid is probably getting 10,000 reps a day. And right now, he's the number one kid in the class when he's going to come out of high school. Again, I won't say his name because I didn't get permission to do that. But I'm just saying, you see the work that the person is putting in. And so I'm saying that when you put the work in, you're going to get the results that based on the work that you put in. Those are principles that you cannot deny. They're principles that you cannot deny. And I'm saying you have to, one, be joyful always. Be anxious of nothing. If you're going to pray, don't worry. If you're going to worry, why are you praying? So my point is, God gives us the blueprint. And see, the thing about the word is, when you read the word, you get information. When you hear the word, so hear the word means either you hear it from somebody to you, or even when you speak it to somebody else. A lot of times when I'm talking to you guys, I'm talking to me. Because when I'm talking to you, I hear it again with my ear. And when I hear it with my ear again, it goes into my subconscious. The third thing is, as I'm reading, I like to hear what I call my third ear. Excuse me. Which is my heart. 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 Your heart. I like to listen to things with the ear in my heart. Because when I listen to things with the ear in my heart, based on the information that I have inside of me, based on the principles that I have, guess what? I start hearing things differently when I'm talking to people. So be anxious for nothing. Guard your hearts, guard your minds. And so that's what the instruction that God has given us. Think and grow rich. How are you thinking? What are you putting in your mind, right? And so I think about my modern day Paul, right? Paul is talking to the Philippians in this chapter, and he's talking about about rejoicing, right? And I'm gonna share a book that I just read, and I read it again actually. My good friend, Off the Grid, Kwame Kilpatrick. Kwame and I go back almost 30 some years. And this book is to me like a modern day version of what Paul is saying in the Bible about what Paul is saying in the Bible about being rejoiceful, even in a stressful situation. Even in a stressful situation, Paul was saying rejoice. And Kwame, who you all may know, former mayor of Detroit, that you need to get the book. I'm telling you, he's really talking about his journey when he was in prison, right? But and while because you know somebody personally, to hear somebody write it down through the entire process, it is like, man, I can't believe that my friend was going through that, right? And I don't care what it is that you think somebody has done wrong or whatever. To me, if somebody ain't killed or murdered somebody, I just don't think that jail is a place that people should go, because it's not about rehabilitation, right? You're trying to just control somebody. That's my personal feelings about it. But when you know somebody since you were 18 years old, in a relationship that you have with somebody, you know somebody's a good person. You know somebody, of course, people make mistakes, but I'm talking about as a good person to read this story. But he also talks about the joy. Now that he's out of prison, he talks about the joy that he has, right? He literally found himself during that process, right? Almost being in jail 8 years, right? He found himself. And when he found himself, he talks about the peace that he has now. And my mother used to always say, boy, ain't nothing like peace of mind. Ain't nothing like peace of mind. I'm like, what is she talking about? Peace of mind. Like, nah, ma, you want to have a big house, right? You want to have a fast car. You want to have a lot of money. She said, boy, ain't nothing like peace of mind. When you don't have to have that worry, when you don't have to have that stress, there's nothing like knowing that you're moving and going in your, and not just purpose, like the traditional purpose. I'm saying just know that things are going to be okay. Life is a place where things are going to happen. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, there's going to be disappointments, there's going to be wins and victories. But where is your place of peace? And peace should not be something outside of you. Peace should be something inside of you. And so as I'm, reading a book again, I was looking at some videos last night. Kwame is remarried. He's he got has a beautiful son, two beautiful two sons that he has. One, his wife had before him, and now they have a child together. And I was just like, it sounded like beaming, just smiling, because I said, man, I can't imagine when you're in a place for 7 years and you don't know, somebody told you you're going to be there 28 years. And he said he knew he was going to be 7 years. After 7 years, he knew he was going to be out. And I just think about, could I have had that type of joy? Could I have had that type of positive mindset the entire time? But again, these different books that I'm reading, they put a certain type of thought process in me so that I can start thinking a little bit different, so that I can start moving a little bit different. And so again, what you put in your mind is what eventually comes out. What you put in your mind is eventually, what comes out. And so, of course, my last book, which I gotta share, is Be Your Own Bank, right? Hidden in plain sight. And what is this about? This again is about a mindset. A lot of times people think when you're talking bank, you're just talking money. But what I mean by bank, I gotta say who the author is, right? Miss Tasha M. Dyer, Mr. Craig Blythewood, and of Dr. Craig Blythewood, and of course, Mr. Gerald D. Rogers. And Be Your Own Bank, I'm trying to make sure I get it. Be Your Own Bank, hidden in plain sight. There's so many things that are right in front of your face that can allow you to be as successful as you want to be. And the Be Your Own Bank movement that we talk about is how you got to think like a bank and act like a bank. And the premise of that is that banks make money every single day by capitalizing on certain type of markets. In the markets that we typically focus on is foreign exchange market, learning how to trade the markets, learn how to benefit from the movement of the market. We also talk about personal credit, business credit. We also talk about real estate investing, right? And so I'm going somewhere with this. My whole point is, even as these things happen, how do you think? How do you act? And so the Be Your Own Bank movement just means that your financial narrative, your salary, your perfect salary is actually in your control, because the same way that the banks make money, you can learn to make money. And so when you start thinking like a bank, when you start acting like a bank, when you start learning the skills, and see, a lot of times we tend to think, nope, I got to go to work and get a job and work for somebody, and then they'll give me what my value, like what we agreed to negotiate as my value. right? And so if that's all you don't know that you can think like a bank. So I put my money somewhere and I put a big amount of money in there and they say, you know what? You can't get it for 3 days. Wait a minute, I just gave it to you. I can't get it for 3 days. And guess what? Don't move your money too much from checking to savings or savings to checking, because you know what? We're going to give you a penalty for moving your money from this account to that account. All they're doing is moving inside the bank. But the reason they're doing it is because the bank uses your money to make more money, right? Then at the end of the year, the bank says, because you left your money here for so long, we're going to give you 0.0001% for having your money in our bank. They might even give you 1%. Okay, let's say 2%. Okay, we know the banks don't do that. But my point is, if you can start learning a skill set where you can learn to earn 3% or 5% of your money every single day, why wouldn't you do that? Can you imagine what 3% on your money every single day is? You have $1,000 in the bank and somebody gave you 3% every single day. You have almost $40,000 in 120 some days. $1,000 earning 3% every single day. About 40 some thousand dollars. I think 49,000 dollars or something like that, right? You had the same $1,000 earning 5% a day. That would bring you about $440,000. $1,000 making 5% a day, about $440,000. So my point is, the banks make money off of movement in the markets. Why don't you learn the skill set that the banks already know to do the same thing? Again, rejoice. You have to rejoice. You have to have to not be anxious for nothing, not worried about whether somebody's going to give you a raise or promotion or whatever. Am I worthy? I need to go try to get another job? I need to go try to, go back to school and get another degree and take some more debt out. So hopefully I have another title. And then when I have another title, somebody will say he's worthy of, or she's worthy of this much more money. And think about it, even when people get more jobs, I like to say, well, an extra $600 a month, $1,000 a month, what did that bring you a year? $7,000, $12,000 a year? What would it take for you to get a $7,000 a raise on your job right now? What would it take for you to get a $12,000 raise on your job right now? Almost an act of God, some people say. Take an act of God to get that type of raise, on your job promotion. And what happens is you start getting mad at the boss because the boss didn't put that value on you. The boss, sometimes they're not valuing you. The boss just ain't got it. The budget don't allow for that. See, jobs are businesses. Businesses are about profits. Profits come by having a lot of revenue and less expenses. Your salary is an expense, period. So what you have to realize is the structure that you're currently operating in and working in, it only allows for you to make so much. But guess what? When you're in certain type of industries, when you are in trillion-dollar industries, like the foreign exchange market, like the credit market, trillion-dollar in the real estate market, trillion-dollar industries. God even gave the people what? Land. These are the industries that you should be in, trying to get in, learning about. I'm just telling you. And so when you're in trillion-dollar industry, the crumb off of $1 trillion can be a buffet for me and you, right? But you got to be willing to learn something different. And so I know he's like, Dag, Marvin, you went from the Bible to Paul to Kwame. But I'm saying, to me, all these things just kind of wrapped up, because what I'm trying to say is these are the things that I put things in my mind that's going to make me grow. So you plant a seed today, you get a harvest tomorrow. What's happening in your life right now, what's going to happen in your life in a year, happen in your life in 3 years, what's going to happen, uh, what's going to happen in your life in 5 years is based on the seeds you're planting today. So you are right now based on what you put in your mind a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. So the only person you got to be mad at right now, upset with right now, is you. Because what have you done over the last year, 3 years, 5 years to get you to a different place than where you are right now? And when I say mad, I'm just saying wherever it is that you want to be, right? That's a true reality. So I'm saying is people have to get up on March the 4th when it's being done. You got to say, you know what? I said all this stuff in December. I'm gonna do this starting New Year's. I'm gonna have a resolution. That's why resolutions, they just don't stick. Because you got to start changing what you're putting in your mind, change what you're putting in your body, what your spirit, all your things, all the ways in which you're trying to grow. You have to plant seeds that allow you to grow in those spaces. I went to church a whole lot growing up. I mean, my mom Wednesday night choir rehearsal and a Bible study. We was at church on Sunday morning doing the Sunday school in church. But guess what? I can't I can't build a relationship with God. I can't build a relationship with Jesus based on what I did 30 years ago. I got to consistently be in the word. I got to consistently be around people who are also in the word, right? It's almost like being a fan of a team and you never go to your team's game. People say, I ain't got to go to church. I'm like, that's it's a cop out, really. And I used to think like that too, but it's a cop out. Because if you are, I'm just say a college fan. I live in a college town, so I'm a fan of my football team, my team, my school's team, football team, for example. And I never went to the game. You say, oh man, he full of it. He ain't no true rattler. He ain't true orange and green. You ain't giving no money to the school. You ain't at the school cheering. You ain't standing up clapping. People go to church sometimes and just sit there. But, oh, you ain't got to do all that. I'm like, wow. Well, I want to see how you act at a concert. How do you act when New Edition come on stage? How do you act when you know whoever your favorite artist is? Beyonce come on stage. How do you act? Do you sit there and say, it don't take all that? So you go to church and you spend time with God, and you at church really to worship God. That's the only purpose you're there. Sometimes people be, oh, I wonder what the choir gonna sing today. I wonder what the preacher gonna say today. We go to church to praise God. It's just typically a lot of people who are supposed to be praising God. So we go into this communion of saints who are all thinking and focus on the same thing so that we can thank God at the same time for what he's done for us, right? For who he's been in our lives, whatever. That's the space of praise. It's a place of it's really praise and worship. What's supposed to happen the whole service. Everything you do is about praise and worship the whole time. So when you go there and you sit there and you're not moved by that, you're missing the point. The fact that you got up this morning, praise. The fact that somebody in your family who was sick and they didn't die, or they had surgery and they didn't die, praise, right? Worship. Those are the things that should really be moving us when we go into that space. So I'm saying, but if you don't know that God for yourself, then you'll put it on a minister, you'll put it on a choir because you don't have your own personal relationship with God in that space. So as a man thinketh, as a woman thinketh, that's what you'll become. Be careful what you're putting in your mind. That's all I'm saying. And I'm hoping that, sometimes you got people are so careful. Oh, be careful what I say. No, I'm not trying to win people who don't like the message. Everybody got their own tribe. Everybody's struggling with what they're struggling with. Everybody's dealing with what they're dealing with. I'm talking to the people who want to listen to me, because I know that what I'm saying is true. See, when you talk truth, when you speak your truth, and when you do that, the right people who are going to be interested in that message, you'll find them. And be honest with you, I'm doing this because on YouTube, on Facebook, or whatever, because somebody 2 or 3 years from now might see a video and say, "Dag, that impacted me," right? So I do it for me, for edification, so I can hear myself say it again. And when I hear it, I can hear it with that third ear, the ear in the heart. But I also do it so there's somebody else out there that's, could be in one of those moments of despair. And they say, man, I so appreciate that word. Just one person. We always just say, if I could just help one person, then my living is not in vain. So I'm telling you right now, get in your Bible, get in your book, rejoice. Rejoice in God. Be anxious for nothing. Don't worry about anything. I'm telling you now, watch what you're thinking. Think and grow rich. And not rich in money, ideas, creativity. Think. How do you think? Get the book, my man's book, Off the Grid. My man Kwame Kilpatrick. Get the book, read it. My modern day Paul, my guy's modern day Paul, his whole situation changed his life. And then, of course, you got to start thinking, acting a little different if you want something different in your life financially. So from a spiritual perspective, from a real perspective, what are you putting in your mind? How are you living your life? How are you impacting the lives of others? We're put on earth to serve, right? So we put on life to praise, and we also put on life to serve. God said, love me above all others, and two, love your fellow man. How are you going to do that? So you love God by showing praise and worship. You love others by serving others. That's the only instructions God gave us. Those are two biggest ones, right? The other ones we talk about 10 commandments. Well, if you do the first two, the other ones you won't do. You won't murder nobody. You won't be lusting after nobody's wife and all that stuff, right? You can't do those things when you do the first two. the right way. But if you're thinking that you went to church however many moons ago and that's going to sustain you now, that's not it. So this is your boy talking green with Green, Coach Green, talking green with Green. Well, sometimes we talk about your money, sometimes we talk about your mind. Today, we talked about the master as well. So y'all be blessed. Have a great Saturday. Peace.